Do your thing.
Hello and welcome to Final Fantasy Theory. Today's theory, Final Fantasy V is a prequel to Final Fantasy Type 0. You may not have played either of these titles as they were not popular mainstream entries. Type 0 was kind of a placeholder and 5 was released in America too late. However, both games are very good and worth a play. They may not have the same appeal as 7, 8, or 9, or even 10, but they still have good stories and are worth exploring. It's in that lore that I want to show how these two games, separated by decades, are actually entwined. In the world of Final Fantasy V, there are 8 elemental crystals between the two worlds in their particular universe. Both worlds' crystals are shattered by a plot from the main antagonist, Exdeath, who seeks to merge the worlds and absorb the power of the void locked away by the crystals. After the party defeats Exdeath, the crystals are restored. These 4 crystals maintain balance in the worlds. The crystals in Final Fantasy V choose their warriors, much like the crystals create their l'Cie in Type 0. Now, in the world of Type 0, the 4 crystals belong to each particular nation, 4 in total. There was balance between the nations for a time, but then the Militesi Empire attacked to gain control of the other territories and their crystals. They wanted to bend the will of the crystals as they did theirs. The reason is, Cid, the leader of the Militesi Empire, viewed the crystals as slave masters. Now, towards the end of the war, a catastrophic event is triggered called Tempus Finis. This happens, and the judge of the world comes to wipe everything out, unless their test is passed. This judge represents Gala, one of the godlike beings in the world of Type 0. Class 0 defies the judge and the crystal's will to defeat him once and for all by sacrificing their own life and their eternal rebirth cycle, which they rejected. It is interesting to note that the judge does not seem to actually be impartial, because despite passing all of the crucibles, the judge will determine you as a failure and tries to kill you. The judge really only seems to serve Gala, who just wants to massacre all life on the planet. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have the other god of the world, known as Aracia Al-Raish. She has seen Tempus Finis countless times, in the millions. At the end of Type 0, she reveals that the cycle has finally been broken and the world will no longer repeat. She ended her experiment due to Class 0 speaking to her with their memories and their desire to not be reborn. This happened when she happened upon Machina and Rem in their crystal form because they had finished their focus. And once you finish your focus, you turn into crystal. The last cycle was the first time that Class 0 rejected to serve the crystals and become its l'Cie. They decided to be immortals and defeat Gala once and for all. Aracia decides to find a new way to open the gates of Etro without creating Agito and doing this experiment. The age of the crystals was finally over. So, how are these two games connected? Well, the crystals have their own will, and they exert it on the people in their world, and they choose warriors to keep peace in both games. They have the same number of crystals, and the judge is a great parallel to the Void/Exdeath. Both only ever sought the end of everything. Now, in Type 0, the judge's reasons for wanting to wipe out everything comes down to entering Etro's gate for whatever reason. Whether that's power, the game doesn't really explain. Here's my theory. After the defeat of the Void/Exdeath at the end of 5, Aracia Al-Raish came to the world and sealed Exdeath/the Void inside Pandemonium to keep it at bay, as the crystals had done before, and it could only come out under specific circumstances as described in the prophecy. When 9 and 9 meet 9, the depths of reason shall stir. When the seal of creation breaks, a voice like thunder shall sound, and thou shalt know, we have arrived. I believe that Aracia originally sent the crystals as her first experiment to see if the souls of humans were worthy to find Etro's gate, before deciding on the experiment that is currently happening in Type 0. In 5, the crystals have a history of choosing heroes to fight the forces of evil. And in every single case that we can see in the known history of Final Fantasy V is that this evil comes from the void or is the void itself. This is very similar to the Ursus, who come from Pandemonium. Now, for those of you who may not have played Final Fantasy Type 0, Ursus are, they're kind of hard to explain, but they're basically like demons that are immortal. The only way to kill them is to rip their souls from their body. Souls in this game being called Phantoma. Now, in 5, the 4 main kingdoms abuse the power of the crystals to advance their nations and make their lives easier. This causes them to weaken, and it allows Exdeath to exert a small little bit of his life essence into the world to destroy the weakened crystals. With their destruction comes his freedom. This is very similar to Type 0, in which when one nation possesses all crystals, Tempus Finis happens. It is only after each one is destroyed that the humans realize that they should have respected their crystals more. The heroes of 5, who still have remaining crystal shards, fight and defeat the Void /Exdeath/Gala and seal it back into the Void. However, there is no lock on this Void as the crystals no longer exist. I believe Auracia sees the hero's actions and determines humans have worth after all, so she decides to recreate the crystals again to begin her new experiment to refine the humans until the perfect souls are formed to create Agito. Using her vast magic, she locks Gala away in Pandemonium and sets up the world to repeat the same destiny over and over until the perfect souls are created to be judged in Tempus Finis. In Type 0, there's a great war happening, and the heroes of this story, Class 0, must defend their home of Rubrum. As the war goes on, they ultimately defeat the opposing nations and take control of all 4 crystals. This triggers the prophecy, and Tempus Finis is released. Once Tempus Finis begins, Gala is free to choose its own version of a l'Cie, which is a worse than arbiter and judge. If the worthy chosen heroes cannot become Agito, which were the perfect souls that could open the gates to Etro, the experiment would simply loop. The judge would then try to force the gates open by sending a flood of souls after killing everyone on the planet. This is what would trigger the loop, because the only way to succeed in the experiment is for Agito to open the gate, because no amount of souls will force the gates open. However, the Arbiter never judges someone as Agito, and only ever tries to wipe out all life and force the gates open. As I said earlier, despite passing each trial, the judge will fail you in the end, and will always attempt to kill you. Both the judge and Auracia Al-Raish both seek to open the gates of Etro, but by different means. Auracia wants to have the perfect souls, Agito, open this. She does this, like I said, by repeating the process over and over. She wants pure souls that can open the gate. The judge tries to do the short way and kills everything in order to do it. In the backstory of Final Fantasy V, crystal heroes seal away the evil, much like the judges sealed. This was only a temporary fix in both worlds, and eventually the seal breaks. The new Crystal Warriors managed to destroy the Void as it grew out of control by using the light of the crystals. Class 0 does the same thing. They sacrifice their own lives to wipe out the Judge/Void once and for all. This doesn't just end the Judge, though. It destroys the crystals. Auracia leaves the world to find the gates of Etro herself, and she takes the crystals with her. Magic no longer exists in this world, but people are free of the endless cycle of death and rebirth. Without the crystals, Tempus Finis can no longer occur, and thus the Void was finally sealed away. Thanks for watching. Did you like the theory? Do you agree? Comment down below on your own thoughts on the matter. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed that video.